We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. Live call-in show. Put your comments down. Call. First, we're going to do a monologue, but soon after that, give us a call at 763-260-1333. We're going to discuss everything college football. We already have a call coming in. I'm going to go ahead and take it.
Call from
Daniel.
Dan.
Hey, Greg, how are you doing, bud?
How are you doing, sir? What's on your mind?
Doing great. Well, I wanted to get my voice out there before everybody else starts watching the video. I don't have a very good voice. But,
okay.
I was just thinking that, according to John Wilner, there's a 33% chance that the Pac-12 explodes or implodes. And that really surprised me because with John Wilner, he's very typically and very consistently conservative in his estimates.
Yes.
And the 33% makes me think there's two other things that have to happen before that would happen.
Okay.
And I just want to know what you think those two things might be if that's the case. There would be a 66% chance something else has to happen before the Pac-12 would implode.
I got to tell you, the 33% number that he used, and I will go over the article, the mailbag that he describes it. He describes it as a 33% chance of Pac-12 extinction, 67% chance the Pac-12 survives. And as you said, John, for John Wilner to say that means that he's got some information that must be very uneasy for him, for the Pac-12. I gotta say that I think it stems around the fact that people are not going to sign a grant of rights. So I don't think when he says there's a 33% chance of extinction, I don't think he means. He's either saying this subconsciously or consciously. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I only play one here at Peek Around the Corner. But I think what he's saying is whatever deal they sign is going to be it's going to be a very weak deal, because there's going to get a media deal that gets signed. Big Ten is not poaching the Pac-12. But I think whatever they end up with, whatever deal they get done, I think a Washington and an Oregon and possibly even a Utah, they're going to be, I'm going to read after this phone call with you, sir, I'm going to read John Wilner's mailbag. I think he leaves some clues in there. I think some of those Pac-12 schools, the most high-valued Pac-12 schools, are going to be willing to take less money for more freedom. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
And I think that's where we're heading. But I'll let you have the floor for the rest of your time, and then I'll get to the article. Is there anything else you want to add, or?
No, that's all I had to ask there, Greg.
Yep, we're going to get to it right away.
I'll go back and watch the show.
All right, thank you,
Greg.
sir. Appreciate that phone call.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, we had a phone call right off the bat. More phone calls I think are to be coming in. We're talking about the 33% chance. 33% chance of Pac-12 extinction happening according to John Wilner. Let me get through the mailbag. I'm going to give you my monologue. I also have to sing the Washington Huskies fight song, so let's get through that. So see if any of you can survive that singing performance. And then I'm going to get to my way too early 2023 Pac-12 predictions. This is a Pac-12 Saturday. A couple of live shows ago, we did our way too early Big 12 predictions. Of course, you can talk about anything you want in the comments section. You can call this, again, 763-260-1333. You can call about anything. You guys direct the show. But my monologue's going to be around the Pac-12 for today's show. Smash that like button if you like our content. It helps us so much with the algorithms of YouTube. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so. Share the video with your family and friends. If you want to donate to help this show, hit that $, put out the comment, and I will get to it immediately. I'll get to as many comments as I possibly can, as many phone calls as I possibly can. But welcome in to College Football's Peek Around the Corner. We sit in the house that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kirk Gowdy Avenue. Come on in. Let's get to the John Wilner mailbag. We've got to get to it. Then I'll get to your phone calls. This was put out last evening. And when I read this, I had to reread it a couple times. And I know some of you in the chat room, I've talked to you about it. You also had that same experience. Like, what was said? What was said? This is John Wilner's own words. Let's get to it. Hotline mailbag, impact of Comcast mess, options for Oregon and Washington, Kliakoff's leadership, Pac-12 expansion options, and more. Per John Wilner, you all know him, Mercury News, posted last night at about 6 p.m. I'm just going to go through this real quick, and then we're going to highlight the big points because I really think they're worth discussing here on a Saturday. Now, I know some of you are getting ready for NFL playoff Saturday games. Here at Peek Around the Corner, every Saturday is college football, okay? Here's the first mailbag question. What are the to John Wilner, what are the chances that Washington and Oregon work secretly to create a new conference with a new name, new leadership, and their own media deal? Or if the Pac-12 can't come up with a deal, what is the next step? John Wilner's answer, I absolutely agree with it. You may not, but I do. I agree with most of what he says in this mailbag, but there's some really interesting things he drops in here. He says, much respect for outside the box thinking, but I argue the chances that are zero. I do as well. There's not going to be a new conference created. Oregon and Washington are not going to create a new conference. Some out-of-the-box thinking is maybe they bundle their content with maybe a Utah, maybe a Stanford, try to sell it to a media partner. That's crazy out-of-the-box thinking. That's not creating its own conference. I think the chances of that are happening 0. And what I just said, the chances of happening are 1%. Not much of a difference. Okay? That was the first question. He goes on and answers it. Let me get to this part though. And to be clear, this is John Wilner. Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff will present a media deal to the presidents for approval. He will, quote unquote, come up with something. I agree. Something will be presented. Whether it's deemed acceptable is another matter. So Wilner's not even putting all of his chips in the middle of the table that this deal will be acceptable to all the members of the Pac-12. His optimism is waning. As you can see, it's declining dramatically as we continue on searching for that new Pac-12 media deal. But let's game that out. He says, John Wilner, let's imagine the schools are hoping for a media rights deal that produces $35 million to $38 million annually per school. But Kliavkoff is unable to hit that threshold, and still the best deal he can muster is $29 million or $30 million. Then what happens? I'm going to circle back to that really quick, but let me just get through the next paragraph. The Big Ten seemingly isn't an option. The 16 schools, including USC and UCLA, aren't interested in further expansion. The media partners aren't interested in paying for more expansion. And the Big Ten conference is lacking a commissioner. I agree with all that. The Big Ten is not expanding. The no-go for launch for further expansion decision was made in October. We reported it. Other people reported it. That's it for now. Big Ten's not poaching anybody from the Pacific Coast. No one else of value is available right now because everyone else is under their grant of rights in the ACC for now. That's a story for another day. Okay? I agree with all that. But let me circle back to this first paragraph. This is John Wilner again. Let's imagine the schools are hoping for a media rights deal that produces $35 million to $38 million annually per school. But Kliavkoff is unable to hit that threshold. Instead, the best deal he can muster is $29 million or $30 million. I actually think that's what's happening. And I'm not even sure when John Wilner says Kliavkoff is unable to hit that threshold. I'm not even sure if he's talking about he's unable to get a $35 to $38 million deal with Amazon and ESPN and possibly CBS as combined, right? I think he might even be saying, again, this is John Wilner's words. I'm speculating. I'll throw the word allegedly in. But I think he may not be able to get the threshold of getting Oregon and Washington, Utah, possibly on board for $35 million to sign a grant of rights that lasts 7 years, that an Amazon and ESPN and potentially a CBS primetime game, they would demand that. They would demand a grant of rights. You see, I read that as Kliavkoff can't meet the threshold either way. Like he has to balance it out. And maybe a $29 to $30 million per school with no grant of rights being signed with any real teeth to it. There'll be something there. Maybe that's the needle that he can thread the needle. Maybe that's the spot where Kliavkoff can make the deal acceptable to everybody, to the potential new media partners and to the highest value schools in the Pac-12. You see where I'm going with that? Put down your comments. I'll get to it. You can tell me I'm nuts. I probably am. But that's where I think John Wilner is going. I think he's so uneasy about the situation right now. Let's skip. They talk about the Comcast overpayments in the mailbag. I do not want to. You can discuss it. You can ask me questions. But I really think that's not part of this story of the 33% extinction odds of the Pac-12. I don't think that plays a part of it. So I'm not talking about that here in this monologue. Okay, so here's the money shot. Does Kliavkoff have what it takes to rescue the Pac-10? This is from John Joseph in John Wildner's mailbag. Is there any sort of indication that this TV deal is getting close at Salt Lake, Jake? This is John Wildner. Among some hotline sources, confidence in Kliavkoff is strong as ever. So that's the John Wildner we know, right? Bringing out that positivity, that optimistic speech, right? Among some hotline sources, confidence in Kliavkoff is as strong as ever. Then John Wildner says, with other sources, there is a growing concern that he hasn't acted with the required urgency and doesn't grasp the potential for disruption, quote, brackets, in realignment, assume nothing, bracket. Okay? So he puts a lot of cold water on some sources saying they're as confident in Kliavkoff as other. Okay. The hotline official odds are unchanged. Now this actually just shocks me. Does it shock you? The hotline official odds are unchanged. Pac-12 survival remains a 5.5 favorite over Pac-12 extinction. A probability of 67%. Pac-12 survival versus Pac-12 extinction. If there were two football teams playing against each other, Pac-12 survival would only be favored by 5.5 points over Pac-12 extinction. What? Look, I'm a Gopher fan. We haven't been to the Rose Bowl since 1962. Maybe my perception of a 5-point favorite is different than you all who are fans of highly successful football programs, at least at some point in the last 50 years. But when the Gophers are favored by 5.5 points, I got no confidence in that. Survival, Pac-12 survival is only a 5.5 point favorite over Pac-12 extinction. If they lined up in the football field, holy smokes. The only way, because I'm, as you all know, I firmly believe the Big Ten's not poaching. We've been told that. We were told that October 12th. We put it out there. Big Ten is not expanding, folks. They're just not. That decision was made how many months ago? 3-4 months ago now. They're not expanding. In the future they will, but they're not expanding right now. The Big 12 ability to expand has to do with that Pac-12 media deal. Is it going to be that bad where Arizona doesn't take it? Is there a happy medium? Is there some way that George Kliavkoff can pull it out where he can get Amazon and ESPN to be willing to distribute Pac-12 content for the next 5, 6, 7 years at enough money to make Oregon and Washington happy, but to keep their freedom intact, their ability to have an exit hatch out of the Pac-12 if another opportunity arises, and somehow keep Arizona and Arizona State, Colorado, still keep them in the boat. Maybe John Wildner is starting to think, holy smokes, to get this all done, because a 33% extinction rate, 33% chance, that's a big number, guys. That's a huge number. So, all I can say from peek around the corner perspective is this is just speculation. We got no intel on it at all. We were told, the intel we received all the way back to episode 52, that was months ago, that Oregon wasn't going to sign any grant of rights that had any teeth to it, and you could include Washington in that bucket. I think that has come to play. I think that's in play. I think that's what Oregon and Washington, they want. I truly believe this. I think they want, look, the money can be this or this, but we are willing to take less, but we need our exit hatch. We need our parachute out of here. We need that freedom. I think that's what's causing that 33% extinction rate. I think that's what's causing John Wilner to not be so optimistic in his talks. I'm going to get to your comments right now. Let's get to your comments, phone calls. Let me know what you think. I still have to sing the Washington Husky Fight song. We're going to go through the 2023 way too early Pac-12 predictions. But I got to hear your voices. I got to read your comments. Let's get to it. What do you think of John Wilner staying at a 33% extinction odds for Pac-12 extinction? Let me know what you think about those words that he chose. 5.5 favorite? Wow. All right, a lot of people in the house. Matt Higgins, happy Saturday, Greg. Happy to you. David M., hello from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Nice for you to be in the house, David. Nice for you to come in all the way from Democratic Republic of Congo. James Foster, yo, Greg, it's a beautiful day here in PAC. Jonathan Weaver, did the Big Ten not expand because some presidents didn't want to, or because they weren't a fan of Kevin Warren? Big Ten presidents, there was enough there, the majority, that did not want to expand further. And Kevin Warren made the mistake of getting out in front of his skis, tips, right? He did not whip the votes. He did not build consensus. He did not do any of that. He was a lousy communicator within the Big Ten Conference, not just during the pandemic, but during the expansion phase as well. There was no confidence in Kevin Warren. He's a good man. He's going to do a great job for the Chicago Bears as their president. He did a great job for the Vikings. Not the right position for Kevin Warren. Just wasn't. He did not communicate. Big Ten presidents do not want to expand unless Notre Dame is included, or until ACC schools are able to challenge or get out of the grant of rights. A story that we may be covering later, but not today. Gene Calderon, Washington and Oregon always got their eyes somewhere. Yeah, I think they're going to establish an exit hatch out of the Pac-12. I think that's going to be built into this new media deal. Jose, hit the like button. Absolutely. Daniel Montecastle, I agree, Greg. It sounds like it's taken some hard negotiations to get Oregon and Washington to agree to a long-term deal with the media companies. I think so. I think that's playing a big part of it. Maybe the unequal revenue sharing is playing another part of it. But what John Wilner says, 33% chance of Pac-12 extinction. And then he correctly puts it in, that is about a 5.5 point favorite in a football game between Pac-12 extinction versus Pac-12 survival. Pac-12 survival is only 5.5 point favorite. I would not put it that. I would put Pac-12 survival being the favorite by 2 touchdowns. Not 5.5 points. I give them a 14 points. They'd be a 14-point favorite. That's just me. I don't think there should be any question that Pac-12 is going to survive. Now, See, I'm being way more optimistic than John Wilner, which is kind of strange. We're in a strange world here. John Wilner, and I mentioned this a couple months ago, I did send a mailbag question, which he answered. It was a couple weeks after March 31st when we were told that USC called the Big Ten, and we put it out there. We gave that information to media companies. It's a story that the Los Angeles Times carried. You can look at it at Flug Empire and the pinned tweet to read that story, how we broke that news. I asked a question to John Wilner about USC going to the Big Ten, and he answered it in a mailbag, and he said, not until 2030. I gave him and other people information out in the West Coast, but no one paid attention to it. I don't blame them. I was a nobody then. I'm a nobody now. But they just kind of... So I have had a question answered in the mailbag. I was a lot more pessimistic about the Pac-12's future, obviously, when we got the information about USC. John Wilner was very optimistic. Now I'm the optimistic one, and he is the pessimistic one. Things are always changing in the world of college football. Jesse Wilson, good morning. Good morning to you, sir. Tony, one of the people fired at the Pac-12 headquarters was the president of the Pac-12 network. It appears that job will not be filled. Is this the end of the Pac-12 network? Thanks for bringing that question up, Tony. I appreciate it. We talked about this in a couple live shows ago. We believe that the Pac-12 network, and it was reported on, I think, just yesterday or the day before, but we talked about this, I think, maybe 10 days ago, where we expect the Pac-12 network to be on the Amazon Sports app, the Pacific Sports app on Amazon Prime. You go in there, you have to pay extra, just like the SEC network, just like the Big Ten network. You have to go in there, you have to pay extra to watch that, what we call third-tier content. The Pac-12, some of that crew is going to still remain. They're going to produce the games for Amazon. Amazon don't produce the content that they distribute. Amazon doesn't produce NFL Thursday Night Football. Okay? NBC. Here, Pac-12 is going to, their crew is going to produce the games, and it's going to get put on Amazon. And Amazon's probably going to distribute just enough money to cover the cost of those third-tier games, those softball games, those volleyball games. Think of the Big 12 conference and the deal they have with ESPN+. Most of those sporting events gets produced by the Big 12 school, and ESPN is not producing those games. ESPN+ basically gives the Big 12 schools just enough money to cover the cost. Now, there are some exceptions to that. There are some what I would consider quality tier 1 games at the eyeballs. Some football games, obviously. SEC does the same thing. Their schools are obligated to have at least one football game on the SEC network. And with their new TV deal starting in 2024, each SEC school will be obligated to have a football game on ESPN+. So each SEC school is going to have one game on the SEC network, one game on the ESPN+. Even Alabama, even Georgia. In the Big Ten, you've got that. Ohio State, Michigan, they're obligated to have at least a game on the Big Ten network. That's how you help sell these conference networks. The Big 12, basically ESPN is a depository of putting their content. A library for fans can access their universities, teams, sporting events. It gives Big 12 schools a lot of access, better access than they had before, because a West Virginia fan living in Alabama can now go on ESPN+. and find his West Virginia softball baseball game. Before, that was difficult. It hasn't given more money to the Big 12 schools, and their success isn't directly tied to like more subscriptions of ESPN Plus. The Big 12 schools don't get more money. They get a flat fee, basically. They get enough money to cover their production costs. That's why you don't see Big 12 athletic directors talk about, oh, we made such and such from ESPN Plus, because they really don't. Basically, the money they get covers the cost. I think that's how Pac-12 third-tier content is going to happen as well. They're going to get enough money to cover the cost to produce the games for Amazon to display. That's how I believe it's going to happen. My question, I can't get an answer, but my question is Amazon really going to demand that all of their sport content go in that sports-specific app on Amazon Prime? In other words, does a Oregon and Washington game late in the season, Amazon's going to want to show it? Is that going to be under that sports-specific app where people have to pay extra? Not just for the Amazon Prime, but that sports-specific app? If that's the case, I think it's going to be an incredible disaster. And maybe though that's another reason why Oregon and Washington, possibly I think Utah as well, is just saying, hold on, hold on, hold on. Anyways, I know that's a long answer to a simple question. I don't think the Pac-12 network is going to exist in a couple of years. That's the same way it does now. I think it's just going to be a production company that are able to produce the sporting events that gets shown on Amazon Prime under that sports-specific app. Daniel, darn it, I forgot to say long-time listener, first-time caller. Daniel, yes, you did. I didn't even know that was you, Daniel. You said Dan. I didn't even think of it as you. I had no idea that was you. Holy smokes. Wow, dude. Nice job, Dan. Dan, you did a great job. I had no idea that was you. Ryan Thomas, if it's $30 million and no Gore or Arizona's gone, it will be replaced by San Diego State. Stays at 10. We'll get to San Diego State in a little bit. Okay, we'll get to that. Wow, dude. I know you want to talk about San Diego State. We will get to that. The pros and the cons of adding possibly the Aztec to the Pac-12. We'll get to that here in this live show. Ryan Thomas, Arizona State will not move as long as Michael Crow is president, but his days may be numbered. Ryan Thomas, I absolutely agree with you. Michael Crow is not going to move Arizona State to the Big 12. Just isn't. He is totally committed to the Pac-12. Absolutely. Okay, trying to get to a lot of your questions here as fast as possible. Craig Kirsch, nice to see you in the house. The Pac isn't getting anywhere close to $35 million per school. They'll be lucky to hit $30 million with the Gore. Amazon offers $24 million according to the Monty Show. I have no information on what the offer is, but I guarantee you if Oregon and Washington are refusing to sign a Gore that has any real teeth to it, that number is going to drop. And maybe I think that's where we're at right now. I really do. I think Kliavkoff is trying to thread the needle. And I think it's going to be tough. Golden Blue Dude, nice to see you in the house. The scenario that nobody's talking about that I'm doing a video on is Big Ten gets Cal and Stanford because research academics, Oregon and Washington to Big 12 in desperation. I don't see a scenario of Cal and Stanford going to the Big Ten. We never hear a peek around the corner, never got any steam on California at all. Zero. Some on Stanford. Oregon, we actually got more steam on Utah than we did on California. Big Ten is not expanding. They're not expanding. This has been made very, very clear. They're going to wait it out. They're going to wait for Notre Dame. Notre Dame hasn't signed that NBC deal, right? They have to sign a deal before the 2025 season. Plus, we got the expanded playoffs coming up and the ramifications on that in 2026. Notre Dame is going to lose power. They're going to lose power. Remember, when the playoffs changed, when it was expanded for the 2024-2025 season, it needed total consensus. It needed all 10 FBS conferences in Notre Dame to agree. So Notre Dame had veto power. A deal was done for 2024, 2025. But how the playoffs look in 2026 and beyond, we have no idea. Nobody has an idea on that. We don't even know who's going to be in the room to vote on it. There's going to be a lot of posturing. There's going to be a lot of positioning. SEC and Big Ten are probably going to demand more money. We don't even know if it's going to stay at 12 teams or 16. We don't know if Notre Dame is going to be able to ever get a first round bye or ever have a home game in the first round or the second round as an independent school. But we do know that Notre Dame, however that 2026 happens, is probably going to be by majority vote because you don't need consensus. It's a new contract, a new deal. So Notre Dame alone doesn't have veto power. So they are going to lose some power in the structure of the new college football world. Let's get back to your questions. Oregon and Washington to the Big 12. Don't see that happening either. But we shall see, Golden Blue Dude. We shall see. Trying to get to many questions here. Got a lot of people in the house. Golden Blue Dude says, plus a lot of people are saying USC and UCLA are blackballing Oregon and Washington out of the Big Ten as part of the stipulation to join the Big Ten. There may be people talking about it, but here at Peek Around the Corner, we're not buying it. Sure, USC and UCLA probably want to be sitting there with the most territory, Big Ten territory, to themselves out in the Pacific Coast for recruiting purposes, marketing, branding. But they don't have veto power. They just don't have the veto power. When they negotiated with the Big Ten, remember USC and UCLA called the Big Ten separately. They did not call together. There wasn't a team. It wasn't like when Oklahoma and Texas called the SEC together. UCLA and USC called separately. They negotiated separately. They didn't even know each other were talking to the Big Ten. Texas A&M doesn't have veto power to keep Texas out of the SEC. USC and UCLA are not gonna have veto power. Are they no votes for Oregon and Washington at this time? Absolutely. Are there other Big Ten West universities, schools that are no votes for additions right now? Absolutely. Is Ohio State a no vote? Yes. Penn State a no vote? Yes. So there's a lot of no votes out there. I just don't think there's any blackballing is needed. And there is no school that has veto power in the Big Ten. There are some schools that have more power than others, right? I'm talking about you, Gene Smith and Ohio State. Wisconsin and Michigan wield a lot of power. The evil Badgers wield way more power in the Big Ten over my godly Gophers, for example. It's just the way it is. Anyways. Kenner Bauman, where's the link of the article saying 33% chance of extinction? Kenner Bauman, I will put it in my... you know what? I should have put it in the description box. Kenner Bauman, I will put it in Flug Empire Twitter account. I'll put it in there after the show. But it was in John Wilner's mailbag. So keep an eye out for it. Gene Calderon says, yes, Wilner's mailbag. A lot of questions. Let's stop with the I'm going to stop with the comments just for a moment. Stop with the phone calls just for a moment. I have to sing the Washington Huskies fight song. A donation from Rebecca, Miss Husky. She's always in the chat room. I have to do it. This is what we do on this college football channel. We sing fight songs with a donation. During the season, if you want your fight song sung, you have to donate. And then your team has to win the next weekend. And it has to be an underdog going into that game. We have to set those rules. But during the off season, a simple donation, I will sing the fight song. So I'm going to sing the Washington fight song because of the donation, the kind, generous donation of Rebecca. This is a very unique song, okay? I mean, it starts out in a minor chord. I read about it. It was written in the 1950s by a student, some contest at University of Washington. They were having a contest and who would write, the best song was picked and this song was picked, and it's been their fight song ever since. It also, I don't know, it's a very unique song. So I'm going to do the best I can. If you want to make sure you survive this experience, hit the mute button. Hit the mute button, put the earplugs in, and let's see what happens. First of all, I got to make sure I even start this properly. I've only been working on this song for a few hours here, so give me a moment. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Bow down to Washington. Bow down to Washington. Mighty are the men who wear the purple and the gold. Joyfully we welcome with the victor's fold. We'll carve our name in the Hall of Fame to preserve the memory of our devotion. So heaven help the foes of Washington. They're trembling at the feet of mighty Washington. Our boys are there with bells. Their fighting blood excels. It's harder to push them out of the lines than past the Darnells. So victory, the cry of Washington. Our leather lungs with a rah, rah, rah. Over the land, the loyal band will sing the glory of Washington forever. There it is. There it is. Holy smokes. Okay, hopefully you all survive that. Definitely need to press the mute button when Greg sings. Holy smokes. That's a tough song, ladies and gentlemen. That starts out with a minor chord, but that's what we do here at Peek Around the Corner. We cover everything college football, including all of your fight songs, which I have to learn. I have to learn it so fast. You guys all have these crazy fight songs. Can't you be like the Minnesota Gopher Rouser? Can't you just be like that? Can't every song be the same? Wow, the diversity of fight songs across this country. Holy smokes. Unbelievable. I would give that a C+. I gave a great effort, but I screwed up on maybe 6, 7 different notes on that one. So thank you, Rebecca, again, for the generous donation to our channel. I appreciate it. And hopefully you guys can unmute now. So hopefully you guys survive that. Tony, 33% chance the next phone call you get is from a record label. You are crazy, Tony. You are absolutely crazy. Thank you for your donation, Tony. I appreciate your generosity, sir. Joe, thank you for making the college football off-season entertaining. I appreciate you coming into the house, Joe. College football, it never stops here. Not a peek around the corner. Not a peek around the corner. Now, you probably put that comment in before I started singing the Washington fight song. Hopefully the Utah fans in here did not scatter and leave the chat room, but that probably happened. Bow down, bow down, bow down to Washington. Ryan Thomas, proud of you. Greg, thank you. I screwed that up, but Sean, love it, Greg. Bow down. Bow down. Yes. Washington Huskies. And let's use that segue into my way too early Pac-12 predictions for 2023. I'm going to go through this as quick as possible. Then I'll get to your comments for the rest of the show, I promise. And your phone calls, I promise. No more yapping out of me. I'll get to your comments and your phone calls. But we are doing a way too early Pac-12 predictions. 12-1, just like we did a couple live shows ago when we did the Big 12 predictions from 14-1. I got hammered by a lot of fan bases. I'm going to get hammered after I do this one as well. But hang with me. Put down your thoughts in the comments section. I'll get through this real quick. Okay. PATC, way too early Pac-12 predictions. Number 12, Stanford. New coach, Troy Taylor, from Sacramento State FCS program. Very successful. He's the new head coach. He's got a lot of rebuilding to do. The offensive line is completely depleted. They lost every good offensive lineman in the transfer portal. But there's one guy I want you to think about when you're watching Stanford early in the season, and that's running back E.J. Smith. First season last year, comes out of the gate. Their starting running back has a great game against Colgate and was running up and down the field on the USC Trojans in the second game. He had 88 yards. He had over 200 yards rushing in his first game and a half. He led the team, Stanford, in receiving, had 8 catches, and suddenly what happens? He gets injured. So E.J. Smith was lost for the rest of the season. Beginning next year, Stanford, remember the name, E.J. Smith running back. He's going to be ready to rock. I'm hoping the guy can stay injury free. I want to see him produce for the whole season for Stanford. That's the guy. Of course, I've got Stanford number 12. Pretty much everyone does as well. Number 11, I got California. Now, Justin Wilcox, coach. They've had some really good defense in California, some really bad offenses. But I want to focus on one guy. One guy. I think probably most of you haven't heard of him, but I have because, wow, there's a story around it. We know California, right? Their offense has been dreadful for years. It's been boring. It's been just very difficult to watch. But you know who their starting quarterback right now is slated to be for California? Does anybody have the name? Anybody have the name? Sam Jackson. Sam Jackson. You probably haven't heard of him. Sam Jackson is out of Naperville, Illinois. He was a 4-star quarterback. He was like the 32nd ranked quarterback out of that class. I think he was like the last 4-star guy in the class. He committed to my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers, and I celebrated it. I called him Sam Superjet Jackson. If you watch his high school games, it's like a video game. Incredible physical skills. He's raw, very raw, but great physical skills. He was a wide receiver in high school as a sophomore. He could have been, should have been probably a college wide receiver. Most schools recruited him as a wide receiver. Minnesota recruited him as a wide receiver, but you can take your shot at quarterback. Sam Jackson, he committed to Minnesota. Then he uncommitted. So then I got very sad and depressed. Then he committed to Minnesota again for the second time. I celebrated. Then Sam Jackson uncommitted to Minnesota 2 times. Then Sam Jackson committed to Purdue. Purdue fans gave us Gopher fans a lot of grief. Then what happened? He uncommitted from Purdue. This is all before his first year of college. Then he committed to TCU. He was the 3rd string quarterback last year. Chandler Morris was the 1st string. He got injured. Max Duggan took over the number 1. Sam Jackson was the backup. Sam Jackson went in the transfer portal, and now he's California. I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea what's going to happen, but he's going to be the starter at California. At least they have something interesting to watch because the physical abilities, woo! So, anyways, we'll see what happens. California, number 11. Number 10, Colorado. Everyone's talking about Colorado. Deion Sanders. Sean Lewis, the great head coach. I'm telling you, a great offensive mind. The head coach of Kent State decides to leave, go to Colorado, become Deion Sanders' first offensive coordinator at Colorado. It's going to be wild. It's going to be wild. They were outscored 406 to 155 last year, the Buffaloes, when they went 1-11. My question is, of course, they've picked up some great talent in the transfer portal. They got Travis Hunter to go from Jackson State to Colorado. They also got Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback, the son of Deion Sanders. Are we buying into him yet? Can he go from Jackson State to be? Is he ready? I've watched the tapes. Is he ready to lead Colorado in the Pac-12? You know, Pac-12's got all these great quarterbacks up and down the rosters. I don't think so. I'm going to have to be sold on Mr. Sanders as quarterback of a Power 5 program for Colorado. I know he was highly touted, highly recruited. But the tapes at Jackson State, I got questions. So I got Colorado number 10. I can't bump them any higher. Number 9, 8, and 7, especially number 9 and 8, I got Arizona State. The defenses in these schools were just dreadful last year, especially Arizona State. They gave up over 6 yards per play in Pac-12 conference play. Over 6 yards. In fact, it was almost 6.5 yards per play. That is truly unbelievable. But you all know, the people who watch Peek Around the Corner know I love Kenny Dillingham. I think he's going to be a quick turnaround. I like Drew Pine. I think that's a very good transfer quarterback to get. The transfer from Notre Dame. He provides Arizona State stability. I've got them 8. I've got Arizona 9. They do have their starting quarterback and the 2 receivers coming back. But I just like Kenny Dillingham. I think he's going to get almost to the middle of the Pac-12 conference. I got Arizona State 8. Washington State 7. I can't bump them higher than that because I don't know what's going to happen to Cameron Ward. He got crushed last year. Washington State Cougars' offensive line was absolutely dreadful. He still threw for some 23 touchdown passes, 3,200 yards. But, man, he was handcuffed because of that offensive line. Is it going to be better this year? It's one of those things where I have to see it to believe it. And that's going to be my common phrase for the next 5-6 teams. I have to see it to believe it, okay? Washington State's offensive line, I have to see it to believe it. UCLA, number 6, Chip Kelly. True freshman, Dante Moore. Is it going to be him or Ethan Garbers for the starting quarterback? The true freshman, Dante Moore. Or is it going to be Colin Schlee, the transfer quarterback from Kent State who threw it all over the place? It's going to be a pretty interesting UCLA Bruins quarterback battle. I would imagine Dante Moore is going to be the starter sooner rather than later. They got the transfer running back from Ball State, Carson Steele. Over 1,500 yards rushing last year for Ball State. If you don't know him, if you don't watch MAC football, first of all, shame on you. I say that every time I talk MAC football. Carson Steele, he's a tough dude. He's a very tough runner. Ooh. We'll see what happens when he plays Pac-12 football. Carson Steele, running back for UCLA. Keep that in your mind. Number 5, Oregon State. I wanted to have them in the top 4, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because I'm not sold like many of you are. I'm not sold on the transfer quarterback of DJ Ungole. I know all of you are telling me he's an upgrade over the previous quarterback. Yeah, maybe slightly, but I know I'm the only one thinking this, so I should be quiet. But I am not sold that DJ Ungole is going to win games for the Beavers. Last year, the defense was tremendous. Defensive coordinator Trent Bray, they held Pac-12 opponents under 20 points per game. Jonathan Smith, they got Damian Martinez, a running back, coming back. Is DJ Ungole going to be a needle mover? Many of you say yes. I'm sorry, I got to say no. I got to say no on it. Number 4, I'm going to get some people upset. This is one of those things where I say I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. I've got USC Trojans, number 4. Caleb Williams, okay, they're stacked. I understand it. They're stacked. We don't even have to go through it. Lincoln Riley, we know USC is going to win a bunch of games next year, and they're going to be a powerhouse in the years to come. But I got to see a defense. I have to see a defense that tackles. I watched Lincoln Riley's Oklahoma teams. I watched their secondary. I don't know if Lincoln Riley, I don't know if his ability to comprehend defensive talent coming out of the high school classes, or if they can't develop them, especially in the secondary, there's something amiss there. Because you can't swing and miss so many times like Lincoln Riley has. He's bringing in 4-star defensive talent, but they can't play. They can't play. USC's losing that great defensive end. They're losing a great cornerback. That defense has to get better. If it is, fine. USC can win the Pac-12. It's one of those things, though. I have to see it to believe it. Number 3, Oregon, Bo Nix. I was a big detractor of him last year. He proved me wrong. I apologize. Bo Nix had a very good season. My Bucky Irving is going to be coming back. He's going to have a monster year. He's going to have a monster year next year. They got Franklin and Hudson, the receivers, who combined over 100 catches last year. They're coming back. New offensive coordinator, though. Will Stein's going to be calling the plays. Kenny Dillingham has left. Oregon's going to be right there competing to get into the Pac-12 championship. Right now, I've got them at number 3. Number 2, I've got Utah. I know Cameron Rison's coming off an ACL injury. I get it. That Jaquindon Jackson looks very promising, rushed over 500 yards. Utah has got them pegged. That coaching staff has got him pegged. That's the next star of Utah. The O-line's going to be very good. Something that you can't say about many of these Pac-12 schools coming in. They got a couple good linebackers. Utah, I have seen it. I do believe it. 2-time defending, reigning, undisputed Pac-12 champions. They're going for their 3rd in a row. I got to see them get beat a couple times before I say, yeah, Utah's not going to the Pac-12. I got Utah in the Pac-12 championship game against number 1 Washington Huskies. And no, I'm not just saying that because I sang their fight song today. Washington Huskies are my way too early prediction to win the Pac-12 championship. They're probably going to be my way too early and then my official. Michael Penix, I loved him at Indiana. That's the guy who played with handcuffs on. That's the guy who had to produce for Indiana at an extremely high level for them to compete, and he did so at times. He goes to Washington under Kalen DeBoer. He was unbelievable last year. They got their 2 great wide receivers, Odunze, McMillan. Come on. those two guys, you're going to be watching them in the NFL after next season. They are dynamic. Washington Huskies are absolutely dynamic. Well, they averaged 39 points a game last year, and they're going to average more this year. Washington Huskies are my Pac-12 champions for 2023 in my way, way too early predictions. Let me know in the comments section how wrong I am. Let's get back to your comments. The number is 763-260-1333. 33% chance Pac-12 extinction, according to John Wilner. Okay, let's see what you guys got here. Adam Maloney, nice to see you in the house. Appreciate it. Do you think Big Ten is finally done with expansion? Warren is out as the next move Florida schools in 2034. I believe, Adam, the next move is to the east, to the southeast. That year, 2024, looks like it could be there. Or it could be sooner. We here at Peek Around the Corner respect the grant of rights. We think that's a pretty good ironclad contract between the conference and the schools. However, there is something brewing out there, a story that we're going to get to later this spring. But right now, yes, I think that's Big Ten's next move. Although you got to watch Notre Dame. You got to watch Notre Dame until they sign that new contract with NBC. The world is changing in college football. I think it's moving against Notre Dame. The way these conferences are going to be able to create revenue streams to compensate their student athletes at a higher level years down the road, I don't think Notre Dame's going to be able to match that. And Notre Dame, even though they love their football independence, they also love competing at the very highest level. I think the world is changing on Notre Dame. I think other people are slow to it. I think we firmly believe that Notre Dame's independent status in football definitely has an ending point to it, and it's sooner rather than later. That's what we firmly believe, so keep an eye on that as well. Blaze Bunny, nice to see you in the house. Blaze Bunny's got its own predictions. Cal, number 12, Stanford, Colorado, Arizona State, Arizona, Washington State, UCLA, Utah, number 6. Oregon State 4, Washington 3, Oregon 2, USC number 1. Jesse Wilson, the Husky fan living in Alabama, says Washington 1. Ryan Matson, I agree. I can see Washington number 1. Jeff Watson, nice to see you in the house. Your mark is aggressive, no question about it. 50-50, he gets some Pac schools to join the Big 12. Jeff's got it at 50-50. I've got it about 10-90. Washington's schedule is too tough, Blaze Bunny says. I'll have to take a look at it. I know I've taken a look at it, but I do not remember exactly what their schedule is. Son of Sarek, didn't the Utah quarterback come back? Utah no longer than second in Pac-12 until proven otherwise. Utah quarterback is coming back. He suffered an injury, though, so is he going to be fully healthy at the start of the year? Probably, but that's something people have to think about. But yeah, I've got Utah back in the championship game. Absolutely. Jesse Wilson says, I think Washington's defense will improve. Blaze Bunny says Utah quarterback is maybe the 4th best in the conference. Well, talent-wise, he may be the 6th best. But winning, he's number 1, right? He's number 1. Jesse Wilson, Utah stole its way back in the Pac-12 championship last season. Blaze Bunny says they had some luck. Terry Fox says, Greg, you're the man. I don't know about that. Jesse Wilson says, yes, Greg. I think that's probably my singing that they somehow survived. Son of Sarah, Caleb Williams may opt out at the first sign of trouble. I don't know. You think he'd be getting paid enough money in the NIL deal at USC to stay for the season? Because those NIL deals, those contracts are becoming where, you've got to be there and play to get that money. But we'll see. Tony says that the Big Ten adds more Pac-12 schools in the future. I'm hoping for Utah. Wild Utah comes in at number 2 at Greg's list. Son of Sarah, USC lacks the mental discipline to beat Tulane. USC, don't sing it, bring it. Another great example. It's not just about last year. And I think Lincoln Riley did a great job at year 1 at USC. Without a doubt, he did a great job. USC performed above expectations, above mine, above most. And nobody expected USC's defense to be any good last year. We all understood that. But man, that defense was so bad at the end of the year. So bad. Tulane just... So again, I got to see it to believe it. I got to see, after the first 3 weeks of the USC's football season, 2023, USC's defense looks like it's improving. I'm all in, baby. Pac-12 championship game. Here comes the Trojans. But we got to see it to believe it. Opie Deedon, I'm no longer worried about keeping the lights on. Now I am concerned with starting a Go Hide the Host fund with no strings attached, entitled December 26th. Does Pac News push Zags away now? The Gonzaga thing, man, that thing's been pushed. Gonzaga's not going to make any deal with the Big 12 until they see the Pac-12 media deal. When we were told that to expect that decision to be made by the end of January, that was like 3 months ago, for Gonzaga to choose the Big 12 with a Fox Sports platform in basketball, for Gonzaga basketball to finally move into a Power 6 basketball conference. That was everyone's thought, that the Pac-12 media deal would be signed, sealed, delivered, and announced in December, for goodness sake. It still hasn't even been done. So that Gonzaga stuff, that has been just pushed way back, because there's no way Gonzaga's making any decisions until they see the future, until they see what Pac-12 media deal, what they get, what type of exposure, money, because they don't know what, Gonzaga has no idea what the Pac-12 is doing, because the Pac-12 may not know what it's doing as of January 28th. So yeah, that whole Gonzaga storyline, that has been pushed. That has been pushed. One quick second. We do have an official sponsor here at Peek Around the Corner. In future live shows, we're going to show you a screenshot. There is a link in the description box below this video, under this live video, of Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters. Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters. My wife and I, they're sponsoring our show. This is our very first sponsor. My wife has been drinking the Bali Blue Moon organic coffee. My wife grew up in Mexico. She spent her first 28 years in Mexico City. She came to the United States. She fell in love with a moron like me. We've been married for 20 years. She's a coffee connoisseur. She's never had better coffee. When she drank this coffee, the deal was done. At Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters, your coffee is roasted in a healthy, safe, environmentally safe, electric heating element coffee roaster We never use propane or natural gas to roast your coffee. Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters offers organic Bali Blue Moon. Gotta get that. It has a hint of chocolate, walnut, and cherry. You don't need to put cream in it. You do however you want, though. However you want to take your coffee. I'm just telling you. Bali Blue Moon. Organic Ethiopian and Colombian coffee. 3 of the highest grade organics money can buy. So go to the link in the description box. Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters. And if you go to the website, if you decide to try it, to help out our sponsor, and if you want to support our channel, put in PATC in the comments section. They got it on the website to order your bags of coffee. I'm telling you, it's absolutely smooth. Glorious coffee from Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters. So thank you for that sponsorship. Appreciate it. Let's get back to your comments. Son of Sarek talking about Notre Dame not getting a first round bye is a pointless endeavor. Chances they win the Big Ten are close to 0. Oh, I don't know about that. Son of Sarek taking a shot at the Irish. CCA, nice to see you in the house. Timeline for Pac-12 media deal? End of February. I don't know, CCA. I mean, the latest report from John Casano and John Wilner are saying in the first quarter. So that could be by the end of what? March? By the end of March? As we talked, the very part of this episode, John Wilner's mailbag, where he talks about a 33% chance of Pac-12 extinction. That media deal not being done yet. Trying to thread the needle between Amazon, ESPN, and possibly CBS and how much money they want to have for this contract, how much they're willing to buy Pac-12's content, and who gets what among that content, versus Oregon and Washington wanting to make sure they keep an exit hatch open to them in case of an emergency, an opportunity to get out of the Pac-12 in the next 6-7 years. And then you got to watch the back end. You got to watch to see if Arizona, Big 12 sneaks through the back window and takes Arizona, because Arizona is, I mean, great basketball brand. Big 12, great basketball conference. Big 12 has that Fox Sports platform finally for the best basketball conference in the country. But Arizona considers themselves a Pac-12 institution. So the favorite is the Pac-12 schools remain whole. That the 10 schools stay with the Pac-12. But John Wilner putting this out there in the mailbag in January 27th. He's still putting it at a 33% chance of extinction. Wow. Mr. Curtis, every single FBS does not want Notre Dame to get any more free rides to the playoffs. Absolutely. Daniel Monacasso, I drink Blue Ridge coffee also. It's the best. It is the elite of the elite. It as smooth. I want to say it's smooth as silk. You got to try it. You've got to try it. You got to get it. Go to Blue Ridge Coffee. There's a link in the description box below the video. Gary, I got the Buckeyes losing 3 games next year. Michigan, Penn State, and Notre Dame. What do you think? Well, I've got the Buckeyes coming in 3rd in the Big Ten East. I've already gotten hammered on that on Twitter. Monavision doesn't like it as well when I say that. I got the Buckeyes finishing 3rd in the East. Of course, the Michigan fans aren't happy with me either because I got Penn State number 1 in the East. However, maybe I changed that prediction. That's just my way too early. And I haven't even made it official yet. I haven't done the Big Ten way too early. I've just done the Big 12. Today I did the Pac-12. Next, not next live show, but 2 live shows from now, I'm going to do the SEC. So, phone number 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. That's the number. Call in. The floor is yours for the next 5 minutes. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. This is Pac-12 Saturday here, Peek Around the Corner. We're talking a lot of Pac-12, but you can talk about anything you want. You can talk about the third string quarterback of your team. Anything you want to discuss, call that number. You see the number on the ticker below the screen as well. Tony says, Gary, did you forget Minnesota in the games that the Buckeyes are going to lose next year? Jeff Watson, hell, Notre Dame getting free rides to the college football playoffs. Michigan had a bad strength of schedule. All P5 should play the minimum of 10 Power 5 games. Curtis, thank you, Daniel Monacasso. Absolutely, Curtis. Great coffee. Best coffee. Give it a try, people. Jeff Watson, SEC. Jose, if worst case PAC scenario, still no deal by start of 24 season, do Oregon and Washington have no choice but to go independent? I don't know if that's their only choice. I suppose there's a Big 12 element to that. I don't believe ACC is a choice. I don't think Oregon and Washington are going to sit there and refuse to sign a Pac-12 media deal because of a grant of rights that gets put out to 2029, 2030. I don't think Oregon and Washington would refuse that deal and then turn around and call up the ACC and say, hey, can we get into the ACC? And then the ACC says, yeah, you can. We'll figure it out with our partner, ESPN. However, according to the ACC bylaws, if you join the ACC, you got to sign our grant of rights that go all the way out to 2036. Yeah. So I don't think ACC is an option. So independence, Big 12. That's pretty much, that's the only options they have. Monavision, Mr. Buckeye, will be first and play Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game. No! Anytime I see in the comments section that Wisconsin's going to the Big Ten championship game, you get one of these. No! Curtis doesn't agree with me. Curtis doesn't agree. Mr. Wolverine, Penn State will be at best, will be the third in the East. Ooh, I don't think so. This is the one thing that the Michigan and Buckeye fans in the chat room can agree with and beat me up on, is that Penn State coming in third. I love Penn State. I love Penn State. Drew Aller, yeah, he needs to get more reps, and he'll get those early in the season. They start out with West Virginia. He's gonna get his reps that he needs. With Allen and Singleton, those running backs, that great left tackle, big 74. They got those great returning linebackers. Penn State, baby. Penn State. Big Ten would step in before allowing Washington to go to independent. Don't think Big Ten's doing anything. Don't think so. Monavision comes in with his routine of no further Big Ten expansion without Notre Dame. That's what we said early in this episode. Jeff Watson, True Curtis, but Michigan shouldn't be playing Colorado State, Hawaii, and UConn. All right, so I think we're going to wrap it up. This was a special Saturday live show edition. I think we're going to be doing some more of these as the year goes on, the off season goes on. Of course, in April, we're going to be doing watch parties of spring football games. Watch parties of spring football games. I know that sounds crazy, but we do crazy here at Peek Around the Corner. Today, we talked about the 33% chance of extinction, according to John Wilner of the Mercury News of the Pac-12. 33%? That seems rather high. Very uneasy. I think people in the Pac-12 are very uneasy. When John Wilner on January 28th is saying a 33% chance of extinction, there's some problems there. We also did the way too early Pac-12 2023 predictions. We went all the way from Stanford, number 12, to Washington, number 1. I had to sing the Washington Husky fight song. Washington Husky fight song. Bow down to Washington. I missed a few notes. It was brutal, but you guys survived it. I think most of you survived it. So we did it all here, Peek Around the Corner on this Saturday. Thank you for coming in. Please, before you leave, smash that like button if you like our content. Subscribe to our channel and share the video with your family and friends. Until next time, from all of us at Peek Around the Corner to all of you, please, you all take care of each other. Thank you so very much.